Coming up on Network Africa, it's 1-year anniversary of the ENDSARS protests, which rocked several parts of Nigeria. European Union calls on Tunisia to restore democratic order in the country and reopen parliament. Plus, Tigrayan forces report airstrikes in Mekelle for a second time this week. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoke. It's a peculiar day today in Nigeria as the country marks the first anniversary of the ENDSARS protest that rocked the nation in October 2020. As part of efforts to commemorate the day, some Nigerian celebrities today joined the drive-through procession at the Lekki toll gate to mark 1 year since the ENDSARS protests, which shook several parts of the country. The celebrities and other activists who turned up at the toll gate with their cars were seen waving Nigerian flags from inside their vehicles and honking horns while singing solidarity songs. There was heavy security presence around the area following the police warning against any physical protest around the toll gate area. The heavy security presence did not, however, deter some of the protesters from coming down from their vehicles as against their initial plan. The police say they've made some arrests and those arrested have been taken to an unknown location.
Those people that are gathered now, they are on foot. They are the miscreants that infiltrated them, not those that came with their vehicle. We didn't drag anybody out from the car, moving car. We didn't drag anybody now, so that so all these who are arrested now, we didn't even get any flag from them. So we did not arrest anybody that will not protest. I told them, if you want to protest, what is done in other places? This is a public place, it's not a government place. And there are areas that are designed. If you want to go to GADDAFI Park, for example, you go to Abiola Park, for example, now. So let's say government, no. They will give you the place, they will give security. Then you can't. You see the volume of traffic here going this axis. You know the economy of this end. You know the economy of the Federal Land Kogi. This is the hub of economy of not only Lagos, but the economy of the country. We can't allow this. So the ministers came up now, and no single person among these organizers have been arrested. No single person.
So those that have been arrested now, what would happen?
We screen them. We screen them normally. So those who have means of identity, so this is not a gathering place. And we do what the law says you should do. So they say one journalist was arrested, he didn't have ID card, but his colleagues have identified him and have said they've released him. So that's it. So we are just being fair to everybody.
There were similar protests in the nation's capital, Abuja, where youths from various parts of the city observed a peaceful rally to mark the 1-year anniversary of the ENDSARS protest. The rally commenced at the Unity Fountain, where the youths, led by social activist Omoyele Sowore, addressed journalists. From the Unity Fountain, the youths set out to go to the National Assembly. However, on their way, they were intercepted by security operatives, including men of the Nigerian Police Force, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, the DSS, and members of the FRSC. The security agents mounted a barricade to prevent the youths from proceeding with their rally. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, tells us more.
Behind me are Nigerian youths who have come out to mark the one-year anniversary of the ENDSARS protest here in the nation's capital, Abuja. The memorial actually started from the Unity Fountain, where the youths turned out in the morning holding placards and banners with several inscriptions, including that they want an end to human rights violations by security agencies. Now, these youths plans to go to the National Assembly, where they said they also want to call on lawmakers in the country to join them in agitating against these alleged human rights abuses by security agents. But on the way, they have been intercepted by security agents who are now mounting barricades and preventing them from going further. This protest, or what I would say, a memorial of the ENDSARS protest, is coming even after the government has said that no gathering of anybody or any sort should be entertained. But these youths have defied that order to come out today, 20th October 2021, which marks exactly 1 year of the ENDSARS protest. For now, we do not know if they will be able to push through the security agents who are mounting barricades with guns, with tear gas, and other forms of weapons to prevent them from going forward. But one thing that is certain is the fact that these youths seem to be undeterred in their quest to put an end to human rights violations in the country, particularly by security agents. From Abuja, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
In the meantime, Amnesty International has continued to maintain that 12 people were killed at the ENDSARS protest in Nigeria a year ago. In a press release today, the body says an investigation by the organization found that Nigerian army and police killed at least 12 people on October the 20th, 2020 at Lekki Tollgate and Alausa in Lagos. It adds that it was able to establish that pro-government supporters instigated violence at many of the demonstrations, providing cover for the police to use lethal force against peaceful protesters. The organization also found that detained protesters were tortured, refused or denied immediate access to lawyers. Well, after a year on, Amnesty explains that despite what it calls the huge gravity of the offense, no security operative has been prosecuted by the authorities. The body calls on President Muhammadu Buhari to fulfill his promise of reforming the police to end the reign of impunity against Nigerians who have been protesting against it for many years. Well, what started as a protest by a small group of young people last year soon spread to other parts of the country. In this next report, our correspondent Olu Phillips takes us down memory lane on the events that shaped the protests last year.
It started with a 72-hour sit-tight by some youth protesters at the House of Assembly drive in Alausa in Ikeja, some meters away from the state governor's office. Bound by one purpose, united by one vision, the agitation centered on calling attention to alleged police brutality. It later became christened ENDSARS. 72 hours of staying at a location in Alausa Ikeja, the protests soon resumed on a much more larger scale, with more youths strengthening the gathering. The impact could no longer be denied by non-actors, as many residents couldn't get to their workplaces owing to road barricades. The protest then reproduced itself in another location, the Highbrow area of Lagos, the Lekki-Akpe Expressway, pitching their tents at its strategic tangent, the Lekki Toll Plaza.
Why are we here? Why are we here? Why are we here? Why are we here?
From tens, it grew into numbers of hundreds and thousands. These protesters held their own, chanting, singing, dancing, but bent on getting their demands met. Those demands later crystallized to what became the 545 demand. And it included scrapping of the anti-robbery squad SARS of the Nigerian police force over reports of brutality and extrajudicial killings, release of all persons arrested and justice for victims of police brutality, setting up of an independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution of all reports of police misconduct within 10 days, psychological evaluation of all disbanded SARS officers before they can be redeployed, and increase police salary so that they can be adequately compensated for protecting lives and property of citizens. Although there were versions of ENDSARS protests in other parts of the country,
as a people with one song, with one voice.
The Lagos campus was more pronounced and intense, paralyzing business activity, especially at the CBD areas. Meanwhile, amidst the episode, the federal government paid attention and took actions regarding some of their demands, which included the setting up of a presidential panel on the reform of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad SARS, the dissolution of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad SARS by the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, and the proposal to set up an independent investigation panel to look into the violations of human rights by the defunct SARS and other segments of the Nigerian police. All these happening simultaneously with the lockdown at the toll plaza, there appeared to be no clear line of sight as to when and how a truce will be reached.
Nobody be leader for this place.
The event stretched. The venue became a beehive of different activity, including religious worship, all up until the 20th day of October 2020, and the aftermaths witnessed in different scales.
Let them shoot, let them shoot. No problem. Everyone sit down.
Lekki is boiling right now. Lekki is boiling right now. It's 1 year on, and the definition of what happened on the night of the 20th of October 2020 is still defined variously by the different actors of that day. With everyone basically singing from a different song sheet, the music will remain a cacophony until perhaps there is a symphony. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
Joining us now is Yinka Oyeniji, a lawyer and rights advocate. Thank you for speaking to us on the program today.
Good evening.
Good evening. And what do you make of today's memorial of the culmination of the ENDSARS protest?
It continues to be emotional. I wish that it didn't happen, and I wish that we didn't have to go over those videos again. I mean, I struggle to be able to be coherent at this time, considering what happened barely 1 year ago. And I woke up this morning to news reports, even that I've just seen that we've had arrests again today. We woke up to the news that we are stopping peaceful citizens, patriotic citizens holding Nigerian flags from protesting, a fundamental human right. I'm looking at the shooting that went on last year, and I'm wondering whether it be blank bullets or live bullets, a threat to human life, the likelihood of infringement of the right to life is enough to enforce human rights. So there have been several accounts. We don't know whether true or false, but it doesn't stop the rights of citizens to protest. And I think that this government still doesn't understand what Nigerians are saying. If I was the one in office, this day will be commemorated. It should be called the Day of the Patriots. The Patriots Day, when people came out to state their own grounds and to try to have the government that owes them social contract to listen to them. But it's been badly handled by the different levels of government we have as of today. And no matter what, whether people protest physically or they drive through, the 20th of October will never be wished away. It's not rightly handled by those in government.
Of October 2020 is forever etched in Nigeria's history. Well, with the way things turned out, what are the lessons we can glean from this that will, in turn help to build our democracy as a country?
Now, this is a major mistake on how it has been handled by those in government. Unfortunately, it won't go away. So, those in government should be advised to come to terms with it. I have a personal grounds against the governor of Lagos State. You are the chief security officer. He did the very good thing by coming out in the beginning that Atalausa, dressed in jeans, t-shirt, and face cap, to say he understood what the protest was about. But that was where common sense stopped. We had nationalists, even the wife of the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, sending relief materials to those protesting at the toll gate. So what we should do is to consider the message behind ENDSARS. What it is that people coming out to say we are unhappy with those that we have entrusted with governance in the country. What are their requests? And the very first thing you need to do is to deal with those requests. Okay, there was a mitigation strategy to say, let us set up panels all over the country. The panel sitting in Lagos did not come up with any report regarding the toll gate incident. A former governor of Lagos State went there and picked up a camcorder. That is not the way to deal with it. The way to deal with it is to say,
Mr. Yinka, there's so many, there's so many things we have to talk about concerning this. It's quite an emotional one, but at this time, we would like to thank you, Yinka, lawyer and rights advocates, for speaking to us. Still to come on Network Africa. Egypt swears in nearly 100 women judges in the first move of its kind. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us on Network Africa. We have other stories around the continent. The European Union is calling on the Tunisian President Kais Saied to restore democratic order in the country and reopen parliament. EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell told EU lawmakers during a parliamentary session that the Tunisian parliament cannot stay closed indefinitely. Mr. Borrell urged the Tunisian president to set a clear timetable for the reopening of parliament. Mr. Saied suspended parliament back in July and fired the prime minister in what his opponents say was a coup. He, however, enjoys the support of many of the citizens. Tigrayan forces say Mekelle, the capital of the war-torn Tigray region in northern Ethiopia, has been hit by airstrike for a second time this week. Kindeya Grehimot, a member of the Tigray People's Liberation Front Central Committee, said the airstrike was carried out in the city. Residents also confirms the attack. However, the federal government has not said anything about the reported attack. Well, as announced last week, South Africa has begun vaccinating 12 to 17-year-olds as it moves to boost its numbers. A single Pfizer vaccine dose was the recommended option for the age range by the health department. Channels Television visited one of the drive-through vaccination sites to see how the uptake had been today, which happens to be a school day.
Because our age group are people that mix a lot with people, so it's easier to spread the virus against other people. So it's very important to get the vaccine right now.
The parents are worried, you know what, do you go and look at it and see what you want to do, but then we have to start thinking about South Africa as a country, and we have to move forward. This can't continue. These kids must move on with their lives. You know, we've had our lives already, and they can't do anything. You know, they can't go out, they can't go to their friends, they can't go and visit, they can't go to a mall, they can't practice their sport. So, and that's important. They have to. Kids are kids.
Well, we decided to open the drive-thru today, especially because we only open on Saturdays because the need was a bit down. But we decided to open today, especially to cater for especially teenagers, the ones between 12 and 17. We already, within the first few minutes, vaccinated 2 17-year-olds. We know that the schools are still on at the moment, so we're expecting a rush from about 3 o'clock this afternoon. We are keeping the site open till 6 p.m. today, and again on Saturday from 9 to 12. The 2 people that we vaccinated, the 2 teenagers, obviously a bit anxious, a bit nervous, but they decided to take the jab because they want protection. And I think the message is very clear. The guidelines from the Department of Health are clear. There is no need for any indemnity forms. The youngsters have to register on the EVDS system, which is live already, and then they get the jab. It's only one Pfizer for now. We know there is some risk attached to vaccines for younger people also, but I think most of the people that are phoning us are quite comfortable, and the parents are quite comfortable that the children get the jab.
8 Nigerians have appeared in court in Cape Town, South Africa for a string of cyber crimes, including dating scams, money laundering and international wide-scale financial fraud. According to a statement from the Priority Crimes Unit, the Hawks, the suspects aged between 33 and 52 were arrested during a multidisciplinary operational teams, including South Africa's security agencies and the U.S.'s Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. According to the FBI, more than 100 victims lost over $8 million in dating scams from 2011 till date. The case has now been adjourned to the 26th of October, and the suspects, who are facing 4 charges, are to remain in custody. There's also a likelihood they would be extradited to the United States for trial. Nigeria's Consul General Malik Ahmed told Channels Television that the mission has been in touch with the Hawks and the names of the suspects verified to be Nigerian.
We intend to send our men on the ground to ascertain that the people are actually Nigerians, and then to be able to follow the case from there.
So once it's verified that they're Nigerians, what will the mission be doing?
Well, as you are aware, Nigeria does not tolerate illegal migration and any form of criminality of its nationals. All right, what we'll do is we would like to collaborate with the host security forces so that we can lay hands and get across to all other accomplices, you know, in Nigeria and elsewhere around the world, so that we can deal with this problem appropriately.
Prior to this particular case, had you received any other reports?
Yeah, from time to time we have had reports of this sort of activities in Cape Town and even in Johannesburg here. In the past 2 months ago, you can see this picture of this Nigerian, you know, who has been declared wanted, you know, and then for what? For killing a fellow Nigerian, for murdering a fellow Nigerian in Cape Town. You know, we believe that these are members of the same cult group we're talking about, engaging in this kind of criminality. The second one of them is this, you know. As we speak, these 2 individuals are on the run from the law. You know, we hope that the long arms of the law will eventually get to them, you know, so that they can be held to account for their activities.
Today marks 10 years since Libyan leader MUAMMAR Gaddafi was killed by rebels during an armed revolt. In the unrest which has beset the country since his downfall, Libya has staged 2 parliamentary elections, the second of which in 2014 left the country split, with rival centers of power in Benghazi in the east and Tripoli in the west. Well, Libya is expected to hold more elections in December. Even though few believe they will go ahead, Libyans do not publicly mark the day of Colonel Gaddafi's death. His violent killing at the hands of rebels who captured him as he tried to flee was a sign of what to come. Wars fueled by competing powers inside and outside Libya tore the land and its people apart. Egypt has appointed 98 women as judges in one of the country's main judicial bodies, the State Council. The judges were sworn in before the council's chief judge in an event in the capital, Cairo. Now, this comes months after President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi called for women to join the country's two main judicial bodies, the council and the public prosecution. Since its inception in 1946, the State Council has been exclusively male and until now actively rejected female applicants. In the past years, women have opposed the decisions of the council, arguing that they were discriminated against. And that's it on the program for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke.